Good morning and happy Sunday, everybody. Today we're heading into Universal to do an Unmasking the Horror tour for Halloween Horror Nights. Should be fun. We can't film inside the houses, but I can take tons of pictures and we'll put together a slideshow for you. Here we go. We're going in the open door. This is Nick Studios right here. This is exciting. First stop on the tour is Ghost Town, the Curse of Lightning Gulch. So the backstory of this house is it's during the gold rush, and it says they came in looking for gold. Instead, they found death and destruction. Now their doomed souls seek others to join them.
The first thing you see as we walk into the entrance are two hanging men, and you'll see a lot of this throughout the house. And the cool thing about this is that the scare actors that we encounter are the actual ghosts of these guys that we see. The facade itself is an old jail, and you'll see to the left some old coffins. And a fun fact that our tour guide Kelly told us is that these coffins are actually used coffins, so that's pretty creepy. This is one of the scare actors that you encounter when you first go into the house. You'll see this like dummy body with the axe through the chest, and the scare actor that pops out behind him has like a bloody spot on his chest. The wanted signs on the walls inside the first room are actually people that are either related to the creative team or they're actual members of the creative team at Universal, which is pretty neat. This little piece of paper was kind of fun. It's on a table in that first room, and if you look closely, it's got some names that you might recognize, some names of some serial killers. Here is another set piece that's made to look like you're in the jail. Another dead dude, just some cool like Western theming. So this is kind of neat. The scare actor that you see that comes out from around the corner there, those are his hands. So when he comes out, he's actually made to look like he doesn't have any hands. So I thought that was pretty cool. Some more Western theming there. So this is neat. If the ground looks like this at any point in the house, it means that it's going to be wet in that area. And this is where it was actually raining. You might have heard us talk about this in the video. There's our tour guide Kelly, and what she's showing us here is this little area where there's a scare actor who's like a school lady, and this is her scare actor like activated scare. So she steps on that, a loud noise happens, and the guests walking through the scene get scared. Some scary artwork. This photo we left in just to kind of give you a feel of what the rooms themselves actually look like. And right there where Kelly is standing, she's showing us that there is a Pepper's ghost effect here in this hallway. This is the lady of the night that has died on the bed in what I think is like a brothel. And look who that is. You might recognize her. That's the storyteller. So that's a fun little Easter egg inside of Ghost Town. This is the bar scene, and we're just kind of showing you just how big these sets are. It's a 2-story set, which is pretty awesome. And this scare was pretty fun. It's in the piano. Right as you're walking into this scene, as you can see, Kelly has opened the little screen, and that is where a hand will pop out and scare you. Some cool theming here on the table. This picture is pretty neat. Kelly was telling us that this is an actual picture of an autopsy that they found online. Some bullet holes in the walls and some spooky cobwebs. There is a look at what's behind the bar. And here's another gold miner that met his demise in this saloon. I know this is kind of hard to tell what it is, but in this bar scene, there is a scare actor that actually comes down from the ceiling and scares you, and this is where his like little boo hole is. So this is a fun room inside of this maze. It's a really large open room, and basically it kind of reminds me of that one scene in The Great Movie Ride, and I thought that was pretty fun. Doesn't that kind of look like The Great Movie Ride? Yeah, tons of cool signs and skeletons all over the place, and there are some more old chests. It looks like these may have been hit with a cannonball. Some more signage around the house. I left this picture in because I thought it was pretty cool that they actually themed the second floor as well, which is like pretty awesome. There's a better look at how tall that water tower thing actually is. This skeleton I thought looked like Tim, so I left it in. You may remember this scene. It looks kind of similar from a few years ago. Kind of hard to tell, but they used mirrors to kind of make it seem like you were really high up, and they did this in Gothic as well. I thought this was a really cool effect. Another skeleton. There's some dynamite. This is actually where I think the Where's My Gold guy is. And one more creepy skeleton before we move on to American Horror Story. So this room right here, we're basically showing you the projectors, and those project onto this wall, and they project the opening credits. So it really feels like you're walking into an episode of American Horror Story, and we're going to start with Murder House. So this is the basement area where the scary doctor was performing all of his like weird experiments. And Kelly is showing you the prop, which is the ether, and that is what the doctor ended up becoming addicted to, and then he started doing weird experiments. Here's a better look at the little pigs. And then we move on to the next room, which is like a continuation of his little laboratory. There's a creepy bookshelf with some creepy things. Kelly was saying that this was kind of like a shout out to the Black Dahlia. This is also a nod to one of Violet's friends who actually came into the house and tried to tell her that it was haunted, and then Tate murdered her. So this is like a little mashup of the Black Dahlia. You can see the mouth. And here is the shower scene where you'll see the Pigman. This scene is showing off the burn man's like backstory, where he actually set the house on fire and those are his children that burned alive in the house. This next scene is pretty creepy. At this point in time, the house was occupied by a bunch of nurses, and a man came to the door with a wound on his head, and that was how he got into the house. When they tried to find the source of the blood, they found out that it was a fake wound, and he was just trying to get in to kill them. So this is that scene. This is just to show you some of the theming in the hallway here. Some books that they had on the table. So this is fun. This book here on the table was actually checked out by Tate. There you go. And then we have our rubber man room. This room was pretty creepy. There's rubber men on the ceiling. They are pretty much everywhere. And then one of them is a real rubber man. And now that brings us into Freak Show. Here is a better look at the posters for each of the Freak Show acts, and then a few of their trailers. So we have the Bearded Lady, Amazon Eve, the Siamese Sisters, and now we're going to walk into the Bearded Lady's trailer. This was pretty neat just to kind of see all the little pieces that were all around her room. It was definitely a lot of fun to look at. Very well themed. Here's some books that I guess the Bearded Lady is reading, which then brings us into the murder bus. This was like the one thing that I wanted to walk through in this house, so I am very happy that we got to do that. This is a nod to last year's 25 Years of Mayhem in the Scary Tales scene, where you might remember the HHN bear. This was actually on the counter in that scene, so that was pretty cute. Here are some just creepy things that Twisty keeps in his murder bus, and look at that, there's a nod to Jack. This is the burlap sack that they used in Jack's show last year. They put this sack over the heads of people and then killed them. Just some more like vintage kids toys just to make it extra creepy. And that brings us to the Freak Show Facade. We didn't get any good pictures of the Museum of Curiosity scene, but you did kind of walk through that Museum of Curiosity. Now we're sort of transported into Dot and Bet's dream, where they think they're going to be separated by the doctor. So this is kind of like what could have happened if they were separated. This is where Dandy has put his dead mother and the Avon lady on display, and he's kind of turned them into Bet and Dot. Super creepy. And this scene is showing where Elsa actually has her legs cut off. So basically the actor's bottom half of her, like her legs, are in that hole in the bed, and then she has some prop pieces that she uses. And this is just showing that they were kind of filming that movie like they were doing in the scene. This brings us to the Meat poster, and underneath you'll see the body of Stanley, who was the con artist that was trying to like murder all the freaks. They cut off his arms and his legs, and they turned him into a Meep-like person. Now he lives in that box forever. Which brings us to Hotel, and this is the scene where the Lady Gaga scare actor would be standing in this spot where I am standing and would be scaring you. I left this part in just to show you how they were kind of utilizing these transparent walls as a scare. This wall is actually a piece of glass with a bus wrap around it, so when they light up the background, you can totally see what's inside, which will definitely scare you in a dark house. I've not actually watched Hotel, so not 100% sure exactly what's happening here, but I guess there is a guy that kills people and then steals their body parts that they were kind of like wrongdoing with, and then jars them, and that's what these are here. This scene shows how Hotel and Coven were connected, because this is actually Queenie's character, and she is dead, and the scare actor in this scene is actually stabbing her in her chest. I guess a person would stand in here and they would drain the blood out of their body, and this machine that's here in the center is a real one of these machines, which is pretty creepy. Here are Lady Gaga's character's children in these little coffins. And here is another one of Lady Gaga's character's children. I guess in this one, she tried to actually terminate this pregnancy with the doctor from Murder House, and this is what happened. In this scene, you'll see a contortionist type scare actor that kind of comes out of the bed, and Kelly is showing you here sort of like how they are positioned on the floor in the bed. In this same scene, you'll see Hypodermic Sally pop out from behind you as you're looking at this character who is on the bed. Here's a little bit of artwork that's inside of the house just to give you an idea of what's on the walls. And that brings us to The Exorcist. So this facade is massive. It's awesome. It's really an intense facade. The first scene that you see is another one of those transparent wall scares. So it looks like you're walking through just a perfectly normal hallway, and then Pazuzu is backlit, and this, you get a big eye full of this right here. Pretty scary. And then we go into Reagan's room. She is already pretty far into her possession here. This is one of the first dolls that you'll see in the house, and it's really like got a ton of detail. So here are the recording tools, which is used by the first priest. He's got to actually come in and prove that she is possessed. So he's recording the things that she's saying and doing. A close-up look at Reagan's mannequin. This is really creepy. Here's a look at the bed. In this scene, there's a live actor actually on the bed, so that's why there is no mannequin on this bed. Then we walk into the barf-soaked mattresses. They did a really good job of capturing the smell of vomit in this house. The whole house smells like vomit. And here is Reagan actually coming down the stairs in that like backwards crab walk. This scene was actually cut from the movie. And this room was painted completely green. And there's Reagan. There she is. Look at that face. In this scene, in the book and in the movie, they did say that she was levitating 4 feet off the ground. Because it's Halloween Horror Nights, they had to actually put her up a lot higher so that guests could not reach her or like break the mannequin itself. This is also the scene where a guy on our tour, his camera started malfunctioning and just started going off like randomly. It was really crazy. Just another look at the artwork on the walls. So this is the scene where the priest wanted everybody to leave the room so that he could kind of deal with Reagan himself. And when everybody came back, she was in the corner, like cowering and laughing, and he was dead on the bed. As you round the corner, you'll see a live actor sort of shaking Reagan, and he's telling the demon inside of her to take him instead of her. As you're walking out of this scene, you actually walk through the broken window. So this is the artistic representation of the priest jumping out the window. This is supposed to be the artistic representation of the stairs, since they couldn't physically put a set of stairs in this part of the scene. And then you walk out into the last scene where you see Pazuzu, and he kind of like comes forward at you. And you walk past some creepy grates with lots of arms sticking out of them. And then that is the end of the tour and the end of the house. I hope you guys enjoyed the lights on look at these 3 mazes at Halloween Horror Nights.
We're all done with the Unmasking the Horror tour now. That was super fun. I was like so excited to see all of this stuff. I'm glad that we got the houses that we got because they were awesome.
We had a lot of, we got a lot of really cool information. Kelly was our tour guide. She was awesome.
Yeah.
And she gave us some really cool info about like the actors on the, because a lot of the houses that we did were the like IPs. So, right, were they all IPs?
No, we did Lightning Gulch too.
Oh right, that was an original. But for American Horror Story and for Exorcist, she actually had some really cool info about the actors that are in the movies, about the actual characters, like backstories and stuff that was really cool.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so that will conclude this video, the slideshow of our Unmasking the Horror tour. Now we're heading into the park. So we will see you guys tomorrow. And now it's time to pay the price.